Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's Delilah Season 1 Episode 6 entitled Bachata. I give a full episode recap with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around. I have all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. Mace is awakened by a curious Dion wanting to know where is Auntie Delilah. Maya wants to know the same thing because she's called her several times and she was supposed to sign an application for her. Marcus explains to Mace that it was for some violin conservatory school. Mace tries to explain that she pulled an all-nighter for a case and maybe her battery died. It's a busy morning with all of the kids and they're all hungry. It's obvious from this point forward that he has to take everybody to school as well. And he says, Dion, have you ever had an Egg McMuffin? He says no. He lets him know that this Egg McMuffin he's about to make is gonna rock his world. It's still a busy morning, and Delilah thanks Demetria for bailing her out so quickly and assures that she'll get her cash back as soon as possible so she can pay back the bail bondsman. But Demetria assures that thanks to Harper, she was paid back out of petty cash, and Mace was able to get the kids and take them to school. She even goes on to compliment how wonderful a paralegal Harper is. And Delilah clarifies that she went to law school but unfortunately didn't finish. And life doesn't go as planned. She continues to say, man, I know that I shouldn't have taken those files. I had a gut feeling that they would have me end up in jail. Well, boss lady, I see where you're coming from, but it would have ended up in somebody else's shredder if we didn't get to him. Delilah says, wow, spending a night in jail is not ideal for a mom. I'm pretty sure everybody is freaking out. My phone is dead. Demetria says, look, you can just take my phone and I'm tracking our driver now, so everything should be okay. Boss lady, I was gonna wait until we got to the office to tell you this, but I might as well tell you now. Your father pulled me to the side to tell me that he's keeping his distance, so there's no appearance of impropriety. I'm just the messenger, although he did want me to give you this. The police got an anonymous tip last night that Leah's laptop was found in a dumpster at our apartments. Your father copied the hard drive before it got turned over to Osborne. Also, the area where they found it requires a resident key, and Leah didn't report hers stolen. Delilah leaves a voicemail for her daughter, letting her know that they need to talk about this conservatory application and that everything is okay. Tamara comes over and yells upstairs, hey, is everything okay? And she confirms that, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just upstairs getting dressed. Harper and Demetria have a time to cover some details. Delilah's been bailed out, but Harper thinks that she should reschedule Leah's depot prep for tomorrow and that Delilah might need a breather to take a moment to regroup. But Demetria insists that Boss Lady is stronger than she thinks and don't reschedule and just move accordingly. Harper is surely frustrated from Demetria always calling the shots. Katya is frustrated with Gordon that he doesn't show signs of being serious and taking what she says seriously, but he says, no, wait, I told Delilah about us. I told her everything, and he has to stop her from leaving out of the door. He shows her a key to his place and says, come by my place tonight and meet my kids. Tam tells Delilah that she was so worried after everything that's been happening. She was afraid that something had happened to her. But she's a little upset that she called Mace to look after the kids and not her. But Delilah says, Mace is just easier. I mean, if I had called you for help, you would have moved to exclude the files from evidence. Am I wrong? Things aren't the way that they were. But Tam is frustrated and says, it's my job to take care of the client and give the best defense possible. I will ask the judge to exclude evidence where need be. That doesn't make me a bad friend. That makes me a good lawyer. But Delilah says, I'm not wrong. And Tam can't respond. Andre visits Nate at VA and says Christine wanted him to come by and give him some divorce papers. Nate finally asks if there's something going on between the two, but Andre responds with he doesn't want to get into that right now. Nate tells him that even with all of this going on and me in this wheelchair, I'm more of a man than you are. You were supposed to look after my wife and be my friend. And you know what? Just get out. It's time for Leah's deposition. Demetria wants to know, is there anything that you were trying to hide on the laptop? But Leah says no. It's just some embarrassing pictures, but even Delilah has seen those already. But Demetria wants to know, are you sure there's not anything incriminating? I'm asking because whomever found the laptop had to have a key to get to where it was found. Leah says, are you insisting that I broke into my own place and damaged everything? Are you saying that? But Demetria says, look, the opposing counsel will argue just that. Delilah walks in and Leah wants her to explain that, hey, could you tell them that I was on the phone with you when somebody came into my apartment? And Delilah confirms. Delilah says, can you confirm who else has a key? And Leah says her mom. Sometimes I would have an Airbnb. And of course, Fred had a copy and he never gave it back. But they all tell her it is possible that he made a copy. And is there any reason you can think of why they would want that laptop back? Leah says she has no idea. Leah wants to leave because she just feels uncomfortable, but they tell her that she has to be prepared for court. Demetria says, use that fear as power at this case because we need you to be strong. Leah steps away to compose herself, and Delilah says that's exactly what Osborne planned. They wanted me to spend the night in jail so they could exclude Gary's file from the trial, leaving only Leah's testimony. Demetria is like, yeah, and with only Leah's testimony, that doesn't look great. And it'll make it look like she tried to destroy evidence. Mace tells Delilah that to review this hard drive, it could take weeks. But Delilah wants him to just specifically look for things that correlate with Gary Shea and Rick Padengale. And thank you for watching the kids last night. Delilah catches up with Harper and says that, I was upset and rattled about last night and the situation, but I'm realizing that they're just trying to intimidate me. Enough about that, I'm fine. How are you? Harper says that she's fine. She's like, okay, good. When you get a chance, have Demetria write up an amendment complaint against the Osbornes. Harper is unsure about the amendment, and Delilah validates it's the whistleblower retaliation amendment. She's like, yeah, thanks. Tamara begins Frank's deposition and wants to know if he had any information about Leah's break-in at her apartment. He says no, but she says you were named as a suspect in the police report. Were you ever questioned by the police? He says no. And Leah says, well, was there something on her laptop that you were concerned about? He says that it's standard company policy. She was his executive assistant for several years, kept calendars, has access to my emails, and before he can continue, he's interrupted by Wynn Jr. He wants to know how everything is going, and Tam reports that everything is very fluid. He tells Frank that Tam has put together an airtight motion to exclude the Gary Shea files. And Frank says, wow, you were right. She is one of the good ones. And Frank leaves the room. Tam wants to know what's that all about and what did he mean by that, but he says, I don't know. Look, with everything that's going on with the case, it's time to have dinner with my father and discuss your partnership. How about tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m.? Tam says that's great. But Wynn Jr. tells her, make sure to bring Casey with you. But Tam is puzzled why they would want Casey to come. Demetria passes off the amendment to Harper, which Harper compliments, wow, that was fast. She says, well, there's no time to waste. I'm working on the affidavit now to get those evidence tampering charges dropped. Would you be willing to help me do some of the research? Harper says, of course, Demetria. What do you want exactly? She wants any local case precedents involving wrongful arrest or misconducts. You know what? I would love to see the file for that Jane Doe case. The one where the woman was put in a mental hospital for driving a nice car. And Harper says, you know what? That is a little before I was here. I'm a little bit out of my depth. Demetria says, no, Delilah says that you went to law school before, and if you don't mind me asking, where did you go? She says, NCCU. She says, wow, that's a really good school. I mean, what happened? Harper says, it just wasn't the right time. And Demetria insists, well, I think you would make a good attorney. I mean, I'm sure that I could help you out with research. If you need me to just help a little more, I mean, we need more Black Esquires representing, so you should consider going back. I'll even help you prep for the LSAT. And I kept all of my good notes, but Harper cuts her off and says, I think that's about it. I said I would think about it. Maya vents to her mom that it's too late to submit an application because all of the slots are filled. She feels that if they would have got the application signed and completed, that maybe she would have gotten in. But now, there's no point even thinking about it. Maya isn't buying that she pulls in all later and wants to know what's going on. Delilah apologizes and finally admits that due to a misunderstanding with the case, that she was put in jail. She's fine. She doesn't want her or Marcus to be worried about it. Upon explaining everything, Gordon arrives to pick up the kids and feels the bad vibes in the room. He wants to know what's going on. She says, it's nothing to worry about. I just told the kids that I was arrested due to a misunderstanding about this case, but everything is fine. He tells the kids to wait on them in the car because they need to talk, but Maya says, Marcus, they need time to argue. They leave and he says, with everything that's going on, you could have called me. And she says, well, it wasn't your night. He says, regardless if it was my night, you can always call me. And also, they're going to meet Katya. But Delilah says, there's no way that my kids are going to meet her. Like, are you serious about it? I need to confirm that she can be around my kids. And he says, just like Mace was around mine? You didn't talk to me about that. Look, you don't have the final say-so on this, but at least I told you to your face about who your kids were going to be around. Tam and Casey conclude their run, and she informs him that she's invited to talk to Wynn Jr. and Wynn Sr. when it comes to being a partner. He says that he'll clear his schedule, but Tam seems a bit resistant. She wants him to be the fiance and not the deputy mayor, but Casey says, baby, I am the deputy mayor. But she's like, you know what I mean. I need you to be there as my fiance, my support. So can we agree that you're just going to be my support? You're going to sit there and you're going to listen and you're going to be with me? He lets her know, I'm sure I could make that arrangement. Katya comes by later and she brings brownies because she heard that it's Marcus's favorite. They even play games. Later on that evening, Maya wants to speak with her directly and wants to know how she met her dad. She tells her school, but wants to know which school. She confirms Davidson. She's like, that's great. You're a professor too, right? But Katya says, I am a student. They're both uncomfortable and Katya leaves the room. Nate lets Delilah see the divorce papers. Delilah says, wow, she wants full custody and the house. She really wants the house, Nate. I mean, 6 months not being there for Dion, that's abandonment. I mean, we need to call her bluff. He gets a text from Christine saying that she's picking up Dion at her place. Delilah says, well, what did you say back? And Nate said, I can't help but to respond and say that that's great and you'll have his things packed. Come on, Delilah. She is his mother. Maya is up front with her dad and wants to know, I would always hear you and Mom talking about someone named Katya. I mean, is this the same Katya? Is this the same person that was the wedge between you and Mom before the divorce? You know what? This was supposed to be our time, but now it's our time and hers. And now that I know she's a student and that's where you met her, every time I see her, now I want to vomit. Gordon says, you know what? Our marriage was over before Katya. And, we did try to make it work. We tried to save our marriage before we got divorced. So I just need you to understand that Katya is going to be here with me and I need you to respect her. As Leah tries to get her apartment together, she's constantly getting calls back to back from Fred. She keeps declining each call, continues to try to clean up her place, but the calls won't stop. It's so many calls that it makes her uncomfortable. Delilah wants to give it a shot and try to contact the school just to see if she can get a spot for an audition. She even offers that her firm can provide pro bono hours and that she's willing to do anything to just try to at least get Maya a slot. She then gets a call from Jamal, and he would like some business advice. He received a letter from the Charlotte business owners regarding the reparations referendum. Delilah wants to say, let me guess, they're opposed. Jamal says yes. You think you could take a look at it and give me some advice on how to respond? She says, well, doesn't the city have lawyers for that? He says, yeah, but I would like a second opinion. Maybe we can take a look at it over a glass of wine? She says, that sounds like a good idea. Come over around 8-ish my place. I'll text you the address info. Demetria and Harper take a minute to update Delilah on all of the information that Mace found on the hard drive and their research. They found out that there are wire transfers from Osborne to Pine City Trust LLC. And they also called the Secretary of State office, and the president of Pine City Trust is Rick Pettingill. The payments are listed as consultant fees, but it's their gut saying that these were payoffs. If they can prove everything, they don't need Gary Shea's files. They would just need the information of the wire transfers as the evidence. That's if they can find Rick Pettingill to depose, right? Delilah compliments both of them and tells them that they've done an amazing job. But wow, it's unfortunate that, let me guess, these wire transfers are in some untraceable offshore account. But Demetria says, yeah, we were able to trace it, and it's an offshore account, all right, in Belize. And Harper says, yeah, but the Pine City Trust has a mailing address, a P.O. box here in Charlotte. I think we can find them. Demetria says to Harper, wow, you really went to a good school. Harper takes insult and storms out of the room. Delilah tries to catch up with her, and Harper says, you told her I went to law school? Delilah doesn't see the issue and thinks that she said it to let her know what she's capable of. Demetria then walks into the conversation, but Harper insists that this is a private conversation. But Demetria says, you know what? The problem is that she's been giving me side eyes since I got here. Now she's acting like she's the victim. Just say what you need to say in front of my face so we can just clear the air. Delilah says, with all due respect, this is a private conversation, so let's just respect each other's requests. But Demetria says, I'm trying to, but we all have baggage, okay? And I have a matching set, but I don't want to bring it to work. Harper says, well, you can't because you take the bus. You know what, Harper? Your picture is next to OCD in the dictionary, okay? You know where the Jane Doe file is, okay? And Harper cuts her off and says, okay. You know what? You want to know so bad? You want to know where the Jane Doe file is? Okay, I'm Jane Doe. Nice to meet you. I was in my first year in law school when 2 racist white cops arrested me and threw me in a mental hospital, okay? Because they couldn't wrap their heads around why a black woman owned such a nice car. I was trying to work my way back. Delilah, I was working my way back, and then you showed up. You just couldn't stop from inserting yourself in my business. And Harper leaves the room. Dion awaits for his mom to pick him up, but he doesn't believe that she'll arrive because in the past, she says that she's gonna be somewhere and she never shows up. As Delilah tries to comfort him, there's a knock at the door, and surprisingly, Christine finally arrives, and Dion is happy to see her. Delilah tells Maya that she's excited that she finessed a connection, and now she has a slot, and all she has to do is reach out to her guidance counselor and send her transcripts. But Maya doesn't have the excitement that Delilah expected. She's not too thrilled and wants to know what's going on. Mom, is Katya the reason why you and Dad broke up? She says, yeah. Maya wants to go home, but Delilah says she can't break the custody agreement. I'm sorry that all of this is going on, but we'll get through this. It's dinner with the Lockleys, and Wynn Sr. compliments her, while the wife says there's not too many women who are partners with her firm. They've heard a lot of things from Win Jr. and that she's a good fighter and a killer in court. Win Jr. says cheers to getting married and making partner in the same year. Win Jr.'s wife says, this is your first marriage, right? I mean, being married to the deputy mayor must be a big deal. Casey says, well, so is being married to an equity partner at Lockley. Win Sr. wants to know that there are some whispers of you wanting the Senate seat. I mean, my duty now is to the people, he clarifies, of Charlotte. Everything beyond that is just speculated. Win Sr. wants to know, well, what's the reason why you would like to be a part of our firm? And Tam says, you guys have a very powerful law firm and I want a piece. I want a seat at that table. I want a voice. Win Sr. then goes back to Casey asking, well, if you run, then how do we know that the time is going to be dedicated to the law firm and not your campaign? Casey says, if I run. He says, well, you would need her on a campaign, right? Tam says, he doesn't need me on the road kissing babies and cutting ribbons to win an election. Casey agrees and says, well, Dr. Biden didn't quit her job. Why should Tamara, huh? I just want her to do what she wants to do. And Win Jr.'s wife gives him the side eye. Win Sr. suggests that maybe they should get brass before the food is served. And Tam thinks that's a good idea. He says, well, current buy-in for equity partner is $150,000. You will fund your own 401k and health insurance. And it's expected partners will contribute at least 3% of the firm's charitable givings. And he continues, as Casey and Tam share looks of concern. As Tam and Casey leave, she wants to know, why didn't you tell me you had thoughts of running for Senate? And he says, well, baby, that's a mirage in the distance, and I haven't decided anything. I mean, people talk, and I can't help that. If I were to make a decision like that, trust me, I would let you know. I'm so proud of you for making partner. Look, I meant what I said. I want you to do whatever it is you want to do. And Tam tells him that she's so lucky to have a man that's understanding to let her have her career space. Jamal, has Casey seen these yet? And he confirms that no, he hasn't seen these yet. I mean, I wanted to get a good idea of how to respond before I broke the news to him. Delilah reads, wow, this documentation is pretty clear. It says if Casey's administration approves the reparations tax, like the one of Asheville, they're willing to take it to Supreme Court to fight it. And it's signed by Win Lockley Jr. and Win Lockley Sr. Wow. You know what? I'll do some research on how to strengthen the tax proposal to make it more fireproof. Jamal says, thank you. I have a confession to make. It was Tam's idea to ask you for legal advice instead of asking you out for a second date. And I called because I wanted to see you again. She also said that it's difficult for you to have some fun. He puts on some music and says, come on, stand up, let's dance. I'll teach you the 4 basic steps of bachata. Delilah says, isn't this like the cha-cha? And he says, no. Bachata is more sensual. It's all in the hips. Now, you ready for a spin? He spins her around, and in the midst of the dancing, they share a passionate kiss. They continue the night with more dancing and laughs. Leah gets a knock at the door, and it's someone moving the doorknob, trying to come in. And it's Fred. He makes himself comfortable, goes to the refrigerator, pulls out a drink. It says, we need to talk. How's your grandmother doing? And Leah says, unfortunately, she passed away last year. What do you want? Fred grabs her hand and says, we need to end this. And that is the end of the episode. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. There's not too much I need to add when it comes to the review for this episode because everything that I've been saying for this entire season has become true. Of course, it was to me very predictable, but it was amazing to watch. I do like the fact that we see amazing actors, and the only thing that's frustrating is the very cut and dry scenes. I explained that it was kind of cut, kind of like theater, where we're only seeing so much. We're kind of seeing different angles with the camera, which is great, and it gives it more depth, more dynamic. But of course, that comes from someone that's a big fan of Law and Order and a lot of other shows that have probably way bigger budgets. So I'm just going to stop judging that. I'm going to stop talking about that because when you have range of certain scenes and camera angles and views of the city, there's a lot of clearance for that and a lot more money. So I'm going to put that to bed and I'm not going to mention that anymore. Besides that, to me, it's pretty predictable. I think I have it all figured out. But I just don't want to say what that is just yet because I don't want to ruin it for everybody. I already said that I thought that Leah and Fred have something deeper that's going on. And I even said in episode either 1 or 2 that she says, I don't want that man, he old and I don't want a white man like that. And I knew from her saying that she was lying because clearly someone that had that much trust in her, that much trust in Leah, it was something deeper going on. And the fact that they let her go this long without being touched like Gary Shea, that it was evident that they shared something more and that Fred was actually trying to protect her. I really think that Fred really, really loves Leah. It was evident in one of the scenes that she opened up a brand new Apple phone. It's like, how did Fred have her new number? So it's obvious that they're still communicating with one another. They're going at each other in court, but they still love each other and they still got stuff going on. This is all a cover up for him trying to protect the Osborne business. Okay, he's acting one way in public, but then behind the scenes, like a lot of people, he is kind of trying to conceal that from everybody else, like his quote unquote dirty little secret, because that's how he's behaving. He's willing to have Leah go through all this stuff, make her look like a crazy person in order to save the family business, in order to make other people look like idiots. So it's pretty evident. It was estimated by me that, of course, Maya being older, she would figure out and put 2 and 2 together from hearing arguments, from hearing things between her and her parents, that she will obviously figure things out. It makes me think that she's going to reconsider even going to that school, even though it's a very prestigious school and her mom pulled some strings. She might want to be closer to her mom because, which is weird, for me to correlate this. But in real life, right, Iyanla on the Iyanla Van Zandt show, she says, when 2 parents are divorced, usually the one that keeps the kids gets all of the negative feedback, like, because they're always there to see, everything. But on the parent that's on the outside that doesn't have full custody, they're able to be viewed as heroes because they come through, when needed, because they aren't with them 24/7. I could kind of see this in this script, that the parents kind of see their dad as, oh, he gets everything, he fixes everything, and everything is just great, and my mom works all of the time, and blah, blah, blah. So I can kind of see that dynamic. I think their relationship is going to change for the better now that Maya really knows more of the truth. She's a teenager, she gets it, she understands it, she doesn't like the situation of her dad and the girlfriend, and that the fact that she's living with him now, like she said that she's a student. Oh, that makes me sick. I can't believe that. So, it's interesting to see. Of course, Marcus and Dion, they're too young. They just, really care about playing and being outside. I still think that it's some foreshadowing when it comes to Marcus. Playing at the park, coming back late, and the mom not knowing where he is. He's saying he's playing, video games, but then he's lying and saying he's not playing video games. He's just showing off. So it's evident that he's going somewhere that he doesn't need to go, and that might pop up at the end of the season. I still feel that Casey and Jamal know something. They are up to something. Either they're playing stupid with some stuff. What they're doing is they're developing character development, and they're pulling in the audience to kind of like Jamal. But I just feel that it's just something. He knows something. He's acting like, I don't know. The audience is gonna like Jamal, and then there's gonna be, of course, the letdown of finding out who he really is. Or could he be assisting things that are illegal and is just really dumbfounded and really doesn't know what's going on? I still have the side eye about the situation how Jamal had those access passes to a building that was closed off, but he was able to have something fake and got off. And they're used to getting away with a lot of stuff, so that it's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. Also, with Tam making partner and it weighing and swaying on the fact that this was the cherry on the top with the Fred Osborne case, it's foreshadowing that, of course, now her partner status is at jeopardy with all of the things going on with the tax reparation paperwork and the documentation and it passing, and of course the Lockley family wanting to stop that, and even willing to take it to Supreme Court to stop it. So they're connected in that way as well. Really not much to update and say about this episode because it's kind of more of an informational episode. It was refreshing to see that Demetria and Harper were developing some sort of connection. They had that little argument, and it's kind of like, come on, you guys, y'all supposed to be working as a team. I predicted that Harper was the Jane Doe. It was very evident, and Delilah mentioned it in the earlier in the season. Hey, do you think that she knows that case was about you? So it's kind of like you were either thinking that she was the Jane Doe or she was the case that they mentioned earlier in the season that Delilah didn't have time for, that she was too busy. So it was either one or the other. You know, of course, I guess, like, that's the Jane Doe. I mean, come on. I think this was more of informational. Like I said, you know, the information about the wire transfer information that was found on the laptop. My thing is that if you can't use the Gary Shea files, what makes you think that you can use the hard drive information from the laptop? I mean, that's still something that you acquired, and they're going to ask you how you obtain that drive as well. So I would like to see how they're going to use that in court, because that could be pulled from court as well. This was something that was returned to the Osborne. How did you get access to it? Is it going to trace back to Mace? So they could be in court with nothing. So it's just kind of like, okay, where are we going to go? And we still, you guys, haven't seen anybody in a court, like in a courtroom. It's just really upset me. Like, this is a show full of lawyers and things are going, but we still haven't seen, you know, them talk to a judge, them prep anything, them go walk through courthouse at least. I mean, just come on. Anywho, let me know what you think. I'm loving the show, but I guess I'm just frustrated that, you know, they're not moving it. You know, we're halfway through the season, and there's still a lot of details that they're leaving out. They're looking so much for a wow factor instead of just giving us good detail and good information and making it a mystery. It's now to the point where viewers are just like kind of hanging on and saying, okay, what's next? Because, I mean, give me more information, give me more. So it's like we're watching it more just to get more details when it doesn't require dragging all of the details to like episode 6. I mean, this is something, everything that we've learned so far could have been jam-packed with a lot of good, quick good dialogue all the way to like episode 3, and going towards the end of the season could have been more shock values. I'm glad that they got out of this kind of like rhythm of always dropping whammies at the end of the episode. It seemed a little bit more subtle, you know, now. But of course, once again, as I mentioned in all the reviews, they always save to the end. Once it gets close to the end, I'm like, okay, it's 5 more minutes. There's going to be a shocker at the end. Like, I've gotten used to that. Like, I'm like, oh, it's 5 more minutes left. What's going to be the big... it's less of a suspense and excitement because you know it's coming, which makes it kind of whack. You know, it's like trying to tickle yourself. It kind of doesn't work. Let me know what you think. Let me know your guesses about how you can think this will work. Yeah, so far so good. I still like the show. I still like watching it. Make sure that you check out all of the show links in the comments so you can catch up on shows that you missed and maybe look at some things that you don't know about. Also, April 28th, get ready for Hulu's original series, The Handmaid's Tale, a winner of over 13 Emmys. Amazing show. Get ready for that. If you've never seen it before and you have no idea what's going on, please make sure to check that out on Hulu. If not, let me know if you need me to go back all the way to season 1 and recap those. I do have the end cap of last season on this channel. I did start YouTube a little over a year ago, so I did catch the tail end of The Handmaid's Tale and reviewed those last few episodes before we went into the end of the season. So make sure you check those out. If not, if you have Hulu, please make sure to check out Handmaid's Tale. You will not be disappointed. It's an amazing show. It is vulgar. It is not a family show at all. So make sure that you come back so I can have the diluted, changed words around so it's family friendly type of review for the series. In the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, stay tuned, you guys, on Friday for Ready to Love, and also Saturday in Y'all Fix My Life. This will be the second of the last 6 until the show is completely completed. It's the Y'all Fix My Life series. If you're behind, don't worry. I have all of the links in the comments so you can click on those and binge watch and catch up, because I want you to join the conversations and the debates. Until next time, love yourself and each other. Bye.